Hello everyone, today we'll be painting High Marshal Helbrecht from the Black Templars. Let's grab our brushes and let's dive into this crusade. We'll begin with our skin tone. Our base for this will be Bugman's Glow, which is going to serve as the foundation for a grimdark yet vibrant aesthetic. The goal is to achieve a color scheme that fits within the iconic style of John Blanche, who, in my opinion, truly embodies the grimdark aesthetic. For our first highlight, we'll mix Flayed One Flesh with Bugman's Glow, approximately 2 parts Bugman's Glow to 1 part Flayed One Flesh. This is going to introduce a slightly yellow tone to the skin, and by blending the highlight into the base coat, we can avoid harsh transitions and make our lives a little bit easier and make things take a little bit less time. This allows for a smoother gradient as we continue layering our highlights on top. Gradually, we're going to increase the amount of Flayed One Flesh to achieve our final bright highlight. As we move into our top highlight for our skin, we're going to highlight our face. For this, I like to keep it volumetric, but still interesting. Of course, you're going to highlight the top of your head, the cheekbones, nose, and chin all will receive the bright highlights, which is pretty standard. However, I also recommend adding a touch of highlight to the upper lip. While it may not be in direct sunlight, this subtle detail enhances the face, it adds depth and interest to the model, and really contrasts nicely against all of our darker tones and our recesses. Now let's move on to our Artificer Armor. For Helbrecht, that's going to be your bright copper and brass color, really contrasts nicely against your other Black Templars. We're going to start by base coating this with Pro Acryl Copper, and then move into some non-metallic metals or NMM techniques using metallic paints. A few weeks ago we painted several other Black Templars, and we want to maintain continuity in the color scheme. While we're not going to be able to replicate that exact same armor scheme, obviously, we'll ensure that shading, skin tones, and accent colors align to make Helbrecht fit seamlessly into the army. For shading our armor, we're going to thin down Rhinox hide into a glaze and apply it into the recesses and shadowed areas, always directing our brush towards those recesses. Rhinox hide with its rich and warm brown tones complement the copper and help us maintain that consistent warm palette. This is going to keep us aligned with the Blanche-inspired theme while ensuring a cohesive look. Before we highlight, we're going to tone down our shading just slightly and reintroduce a little bit of our original copper color back using a stippling motion. This is going to help bring a subtle shine back into our shaded areas and create a little smoother of a transition between the Rhinox hide and our copper and brighter areas. For the first highlight, we're going to mix brass with our copper in a 50-50 ratio. To achieve our desired effect, we'll use both stippling and brushing techniques. Since we're mimicking the look of NMM, focus on areas that naturally reflect the light, such as the middle of the leg armor, edges, and upward-facing surfaces. As we progress to pure brass, we'll concentrate on smaller areas, creating fine lines within the previous copper and brass layers. This ensures that all light reflections are consistent and directed in the same way. Since we're using NMM techniques, the biggest thing for that is going to be contrast, so our dark versus our light. So for this, we really want to go bright and really make it punchy. For the final highlight, we're going to mix brass and silver in about 50-50 to apply a light edge highlight across most of the surfaces of the armor. We'll also add small dot highlights within the other metallics to accentuate the shine and give it that kind of classic NMM look. With the bulk of our armor complete, let's turn our attention to the finer details. For the knee pad, crown, Templar cross, and shoulder pad, we're going to go ahead and base coat with Gray Seer. High Marshal Helbrecht is the unwavering leader of the Black Templars, a chapter of Space Marines, known for their fanatical zeal and relentless crusade against the enemies of the Imperium. Helbrecht is a living symbol of the chapter's unyielding devotion, wielding the mighty sword of the High Marshal, a weapon capable of cutting through the toughest of foes, and leading his battle brothers with a fervor that borders on madness. Uncompromising and resolute, Helbrecht is not just a warrior, but a holy avenger, marching ceaselessly across the galaxy in a never-ending crusade to purge heresy, alien threats, and all who defy the Emperor's will. And back to the painting. To match our other Black Templars, we'll base coat the cloak, heraldry details, and combi weapon with Mephiston red. We're going to keep the inside lining of the cloak red. This helps maintain the warm color scheme without overwhelming the overall silhouette. Next, we'll base coat the cloak and tabard using Mechanicus Standard Gray. The goal is to create a dark gray tone, and although the base coat will initially appear bright, we're going to darken it in subsequent steps. To help save time and achieve a smooth finish, dry brushing the cloak on the back is a highly effective technique. For the belt and the sword grip, I've chosen Screamer Pink, as it provides the closest match to the box art color that I can find, plus it adds a little bit of a royal flair to the model. For our remaining metallic details, we're going to use dark silver. It's going to be the lanterns, the chains, the sword, and the servitors. Apply a solid base coat to these areas to create a cohesive look. One of Helbrecht's most defining moments was his time on Armageddon. During the Third War for it, the planet was besieged by the forces of the Orcs, led by the war boss Ghazghkull Mag Orc Thraka. Helbrecht and his Black Templars were dispatched to assist in the defense of the planet, joining the Imperial forces in their desperate struggle for survival. In the final stages of the war, Helbrecht faced Ghazghkull in a climactic battle. While he did not defeat the warlord, the intervention of the Black Templars in key engagements helped turn the tide of the conflict. To highlight our metallics, we're going to use silver. For a more stylized effect, we're going to incorporate silver bands within the dark silver of the sword to simulate NMM. When shading, we're going to apply Nuln Oil to blend into the dark silver and create smooth transitions, once again akin to NMM shading. For shading our model, we're going to use Nuln Oil, but we want to apply it lightly. The key is to avoid pooling, and nothing ruins a good paint job faster than excessive wash buildup. Apply it carefully, then push and pull the wash into the recesses where you want it, and leave it to dry undisturbed. For the purity seals and parchments, we're going to base coat with Xandri Dust. This maintains that warm tan tone within the palette, helps tie the model together and keep everything cohesive. We're going to highlight our parchment with Screaming Skull. This should be a subtle edge highlight with a couple blocked in areas kind of towards the front of his chest, just to bring the eye closer to the face and the middle chest of the model. Besides that, we just want to give the parchments a little bit of definition. For our lantern's inset panels, we're going to base coat with White Scar to create a clean, bright surface for our next step. To achieve a simple but convincing fire effect in the lantern, take a yellow contrast paint and apply it to the lower half of each panel. Before this dries, go ahead and apply an orange contrast paint to the upper half. The two are going to blend and mix together and create a convincing light effect with very little time investment. At this point, our model is almost complete. I'm going to finish the box art style and then show you all the result before adding grime and weathering to match the rest of my army. For the tactical rocks, we're going to base coat them with a Mechanicus Standard Gray. Next, we're going to apply a layer of dark earth texture paint to create a solid base. This is just going to help blend the rocks in with the rest of the base and give us a much more natural and seamless look. And the final step is going to be applying pigment powder to the base, cloak, servitors, and his feet. This is going to help unify the entire model and ensure it integrates seamlessly with our base. And there you have it, High Marshal Helbrecht painted to a box art style. Everything ties together beautifully with the warm color scheme, and it contrasts well with the cooler tones in the servitors. If you're satisfied with this step, that's great. I really appreciate you following along. If you'd like to see more, stay with me for just a couple more minutes, and you'll get to see my grimdark aesthetic and how to tie it into the rest of our Black Templars that we painted a couple weeks ago. If you'd like to see more also, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to continue supporting this growing community. And now to elevate this model and really incorporate it into our army. We can add some weathering to create a more gritty and battle-worn effect. The quickest way that I found to do this, and most effective, is streaking grime. I'm going to apply this to the entire model, except for the skin. I want the skin to stand out, that's why we painted a little bit brighter and a little bit more yellow than everything else on the model. So we're going to keep that area untouched. Streaking grime is an enamel paint, which gives you a longer working time, and it means that it's consistent of oils, allowing you to manipulate it until you're happy with the effect. To clean it up, use white spirits on a cotton swab or Q-tip to remove any excess and reveal the original color beneath. By gently dragging a cotton swab with white spirits along areas you want to lighten up, you can bring back highlights and remove the grime from specific areas, creating the worn and weathered look that you can imagine. We're going to do a quick two-step glowing OSL effect on our power sword. We're going to start by spraying the blade with Ionic Blue from Army Painter. That's going to create a gradient effect from the hilt to the tip. And then from there, to finish the OSL effect, we're going to glaze the center of the glow with some white ink. This is going to create a bright focal point at the source of the glow, making it stand out as the actual source of what's creating the glow. And there we have it, our fully finished Helbrecht, now integrated perfectly into our army that we started a couple weeks back. With just a few additional steps, we were able to weather him to make him feel like a battle-hardened warrior who's seen centuries of combat. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. We've made great progress in a short time, only a few months, and I can't wait to see where we can go. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.